We really enjoy the luxury that we were given by our customers to choose which scheme fit best for us. The best scheme for us to use would be to have a common management approach because we're working in 67 countries all over the world, right? We already had some of these ISO-based management systems in our plans doing quality, environmental, health and safety, and it allowed our food safety area to join a common language. It helps us to really drive integration of our plants, how the plants function together. We really were committed to driving improvement in food safety, not just trying to get a certificate to get a customer's business, but we want to go beyond that. We really wanted to drive improvement in our management systems.
Five years ago, we made the requirement that all of our private label suppliers had to have one of the GFSI recognized standards. One of the areas that was very important to us was that of the recalls. Class 1 recalls specifically because they're associated with potential hazards like contamination. In those facilities that were certified that the trend was going down. The trend on holes is starting to go up, which we see as a positive trend because now they have a system to identify the problem before it gets to the consumer. So the system is working well. As we continue to get new suppliers, we started to see some of them are coming into our system already certified because it's becoming the way that the business needs to be run. So more and more suppliers are becoming aware. If they want to continue to do business with the large suppliers or being able to export, this is where they have to move towards. So
within our system, we've chosen FSSC 22000, and it really builds on our foundation of producing some of the best brands in the world. So it's much more focused and to the point. We trust in the data that's coming in from the GFSI audits, having, I call it muscle memory. So when emergencies happen, you have those programs in place, you have those procedures in place. They're talking about Japan and what happened with the tsunami. And so our associates there were able to use those programs and procedures and bring our system in Japan up very quickly.
I'll summarize it in three buckets: focus, consistency, and continuous improvement. We allowed our organization, working with our supply chain, to reduce the number of our second and third party audits. With some of our plants receiving between 12 to 20 audits a year from different manufacturers, different suppliers, different customers, with different schemes and different expectations. We get a more holistic, comprehensive approach to audits via the GFSI schemes. Without a doubt, the expectations that GFSI has within the scheme owners clearly supported what we have within our own expectations of craft. That it really elevated our own internal talent, which has helped significantly, not only within our teams and our team dynamics, but with our relationships with our regulatory bodies. So it's really been a great experience for us.
And my message to other packaging companies has always been, it may not have food in it yet, but it will. The biggest challenge, I do have to say, is with our corporate audit, telling the legal department and the purchasing departments and the project management engineers that they needed to have a food safety audit was a little bit of a learning curve. Through the interpretation and the help of our quality folks throughout the organization, we were mentioned.
Do your homework, do your research, utilizing the GFSI site, going to each one of the scheme owners, talking to the scheme owners, talking to the certification bodies, really reaching out to your industry peers who have already gone through that journey. And from that information, I was able to build an effective business case, launch it into our global business, and then gain the support and alignment. It starts from the top. You got to get that senior leadership.
We operate in 200 countries around the world. A lot of redundancy was happening within our system. One division would go audit a supplier, and that audit would not be accepted by another division. What GFSI has allowed us to do in the supplier realm is to be able to accept those results. And now, when we visit a supplier, it's for the technical aspects of that ingredient, that raw material.
One of my plants did 12 third-party audits in a year. On top of that, they did 17 customer audits. And some of the customers were the same ones that had asked for the third-party audits that they apparently didn't really believe in. They now do one audit, which for them, they were already running ISO 9000, they liked that system, it integrated well with their operations, business-wide. They went to FSC 22000.
In addition to see a positive increase in trending on our key performance indicators for quality and food safety measurements, we've also seen a tremendous improvement in our continuous improvement cycle for our own quality management process. So we've been able to change the culture at Heinz. We've seen a great acceptance of the process from senior management on down. There's more emphasis on accountability, training, documenting the ways of working, auditing those ways of working or work procedures, and then doing the adherence and compliance.
There was a lot of training of the plant personnel and corporate personnel as to what was expected of them as part of the standard. And we were fortunate that we had auditors who were very open to the fact that we were the experts in packaging, they knew the standard, and we were going to work with them to go through the audit and get the best result.
You have to make sure that your key performance indicators that are important to you are important to them. You gotta need to understand what is their background. It makes a difference whether they come from finance, from sales, from marketing. And trying to understand what their vision is for the organization, it requires a thinking that is different from a QA person.
The first thing that we did was go to our CEO and made sure that we had management commitment and a long-term plan to implement. Then we went to the business leaders that the plants and quality food safety areas have to answer to. Then we took that in writing and broadcast it out to the quality organization so they knew the road was paved. Then they would go back to their businesses and with some pretty good excitement and enthusiasm, go back and make that case for us. Now, food safety within our company rose up to a much higher level of expectation and resource commitment.
We got everybody together to understand the requirements of the standard. We gave them a quiz after the training. They had to pass with an 80% score or higher. So we had that competency check there to make sure that they understood how serious we were. Our plants are broken up into pods. So we have ketchup, condiments, and sauces together in a pod. We have frozen food plants in a pod. We did one assessment at a plant, each one of the pods, and all of the managers from the different plants within that pod came to that assessment, and together they learned with the DNV auditor how this audit was going to take place, what were the requirements of the certification. So there was a lot of interaction and sharing of best practices right out of the gate. And we created a database that captured all the findings, and we shared this log with all the plants so they could learn what were the auditors finding at sister plants or other plants. So the live register is really the key tool that we're using as we're going through this journey to share with our plants what we're seeing in the other plants, what corrective actions they're putting in place. And we're really working hard together, sharing best practices up and down and across throughout the organization.
A lot of immediate concern in the U.S. with the Food Safety Modernization Act, where we as industry, we want to protect consumers, we want to build brands, we want to have safe food. So we are, in a sense, I think, carrying the water for our governments. We are going to put the systems in place to make sure we protect our brands and build them. So we're already doing the work. How can the government regulations complement and enhance what we're already doing in the efforts within GFSI? So the big focus I see for GFSI is to not sell ourselves short, just reducing audits, It is raising the level of food safety, but it's actually engaging governments so that we don't get blocked at borders by regulations that make no sense and make it difficult to move goods in a timely fashion.
So part of what we learned in terms of implementation at the manufacturing facilities is the why. Why are you doing this? It is part of our DNA, it is part of that muscle memory, it is part of how we operate. The ones that are most successful at the end of that spectrum of this is how we operate, they understand the why. Why are we doing this? They have changed the culture. And that's not quick and easy.
Because food safety and food quality is gonna be something you do because of your organization. It's not something that can be mandated by government or enforced by it. It's not something that should be mandated by a customer. It's something that you provide as part of your organization. If you want it to thrive, you want it to be part of your culture. You have to reinforce it. You have to communicate. At least in my opinion, every month or every quarter you have a scorecard. You remind them, the benefits they're getting, because you're going to need resources. Let's be frank. You're going to need money. You're going to need people. You're going to need systems and stuff. And they need to keep in mind why are they giving you those and the benefits they're getting through it in the business.
We're protecting today, tomorrow, and 10 years from now.
We're looking at not only risks that exist today, but what could exist, what could happen. And that's how you're going to be successful down the road. So it's really, it's not an audit, it's a certification. You got to maintain that certification by keeping that system alive.